Welcome home to everyone. I know this building was a home away from home for so many of you who are here tonight, just as it is today for many of us. I want to welcome our council members, Susan Lamb, of course, Kevin Stennett, Angela Evans, Fred Brown, Amanda Mays Bledsoe, and Russ Hensley. And I see Senator Reggie Thomas in the crowd and former Governor Steve Beshear. So let's give everybody a hand. Also joining us is Lexington historian Foster Ockerman, Jr., administrator of the Lexington History Museum, and our guest of honor, Jim Newberry and his family, Cheryl Ann, Will and Drew, and Aunt Helen Kemp. Let's give them all a big hand. It's great to be here to honor Jim Newberry and unveil his official portrait. We are here tonight to talk about Jim's years as mayor, 2007 to 2010. When we think of the Newberry years, we think of overcoming challenges in some of the most difficult financial times we've experienced as a nation. Mayor Newberry moved us forward despite the Great Recession. He focused on a wide range of important initiatives, including projects that stimulated the economy, that balanced the budget, made government more efficient, improved our downtown, and offered new arts and cultural opportunities while protecting our environment. So, today we are doing something important. Thanks to the work of 4th District Councilmember Susan Lamb and historian Foster Ockerman Jr., we are unveiling the official portrait of Mayor Jim Newberry. Thanks to both of you, Susan and Foster, and to Versailles artist Steve Sawyer, who is also here tonight. So first, please join me in welcoming Councilmember Susan Lamb. Susan.
Thank you, Mayor Gray. Once again, I'm so happy to continue to be a part of keeping our mayoral portrait series up to date. Earlier this year, I spoke with Foster Ockerman about the need to get caught up on our mayoral portraits, and he moved forward very quickly with the Lexington History Museum Board to make this all happen. With Foster's support, help, and leading the Lexington History Museum's fundraising effort, we will have completed the visual documentation of the leadership of our city we've had over so many years. So thank you.
So thank you, Susan. And now, Foster Ockerman Jr., whose fundraising is making this portrait possible. Foster?
Thank you, Mayor. And I certainly want to thank our History Museum Board for coming in behind this project. I see our Vice Chairman, Kathy Ploman, is with us. Chair Jim Dickinson is supposed to be here. He may be late getting in from Frankfurt. And if other board members are there, this is something we're very proud of being able to do. When Susan lamented to me that the collection was incomplete, I was halfway back to the office before it occurred to me, well, this is a natural thing for the History Museum to do, to honor our history and the individuals who made it. So it's been a great pleasure to be able to complete this project and complete it from thought to completion in 7 months. I want to also say that Steve Sawyer, our artist, has had his work purchased, painted, however, it is in over 100 countries around the world. There are not a whole lot of countries more than that. So he's got a constitutional majority of the countries with his art in it. Steve and I have been friends since kindergarten at Cassidy Elementary, and it was a great opportunity I had to involve Steve as our artist to do all 3 of these portraits. And you're going to see this in just a minute, and I think all of you will be very, very pleased. And so it is my pleasure to step aside now and let the mayor give the countdown to the unveiling.
There we go. All right. All right. Mayor, why don't you stand over here so you can be up close. All right. So now Susan and Steve are going to do the unveiling, and I'll give the countdown. 3, 2, 1. All right. Nice job.
So thank you again, Mayor Gray, and as most of you know, I've worked alongside 5 mayors. Today, I am so happy to help unveil the portrait of the Mayor Newberry. As Mayor Gray noted, the period of time Mayor Newberry served was tough as he was dealing with one of the largest financial crises our nation has ever experienced. However, he took the time to focus and find a way to keep our budget balanced while supporting the revitalization of our downtown and the Lyric Theater. I want to thank you, Mayor Newberry, for everything you've done for our city. Your hard work during a time helped the city deal with the Great Recession as best it could. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Mayor Newberry.
Well, I've got good news and I got bad news. Bad news is it looks just like me. The good news is Steve Sawyer did a magnificent job given what he had to work with, so thank you so much. You know, I got to tell you, there's some just plain old weird aspects about this. In the first place, I don't have a portrait done all that often, like once, and so that's kind of weird. I would also say it's kind of nice to have friends and family get together and reminisce and share some good stories. But it's kind of weird from the standpoint, it's sort of like being at your own funeral, right? But I got to tell you, the weirdest aspect of this, by a long shot, is to have Susan Lamb contact me and say, "What color are your eyes?" And it's true. Well, speaking of Susan Lamb, I was thinking that I want to spend a lot of time visiting, so the thought crossed my mind that I could prepare another one of my long, boring, repetitive speeches, print it out on legal-size paper, and give it to Susan to read for us as fast as she could. But I decided that would look too much like a council meeting, and I didn't want to go there, so we didn't do it. But in all seriousness, Susan, I want to thank you so much for your efforts to preserve some bit of Lexington's history today, and in this very special fashion, because without your leadership and Foster's help, it would not have happened. So please give a round of applause to Susan today. And Steve, in all seriousness, you did a magnificent job, a lot better than I'm entitled to, and I am very grateful for your artistic ability. You needed all of it to make us work out as well as it did, so thank you. To everyone, and especially to my colleagues from Steptoe and Johnson, I am very, very appreciative for your being here this evening. I'm honored by your presence. And I want to say a word or two to Foster, too. While Foster, I have been grateful for yours and Martina's friendship over the years, I think it is particularly appropriate for you to be here this evening. You're kind of the keeper of the Lexington story these days. And tonight we're talking just a little bit about a portion of Lexington's story. Yeah, it's my image on the canvas here, but tonight's really not about me. It's much, much more about Lexington. It's about a remarkable period of time in our city's history when we worked together really well. It's about a time when we brought local government together with the business community to help bring jobs to Lexington. It's about a time when UK and downtown worked together really well to unite our center of intellectual capital with our center of financial capital. And it was about a time when we all pulled together successfully to host a major international event, a sporting event that enabled us to make changes throughout our community that we continue to enjoy to this day. In many respects, it was a time when Lexington went from being a large town to being a major city. And that metamorphosis, like any period of change, was at times both awkward and painful along the way. As Charles Dickens might say, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. The Great Recession certainly created an environment where we had what was without doubt the worst and most painful economic conditions in the history of merged government. But by working together, we were still able to experience a lot of great times, times that generated some beautiful memories, times like creating the higher ed triangle with Governor Beshear's help, times like opening the Legacy Trail, the opportunity to improve our water quality and enhance our environment, the Newtown Pike extension, the World Equestrian Games, Spotlight Lexington, the downtown streetscapes, the Fifth Third Pavilion, the South Limestone Street redevelopment effort. But those accomplishments certainly were not mine alone. I'm not going to get into the business of naming names tonight, because if I did name all the names, we'd be here all evening, and we've got a lot more pleasant things to do than sit here and listen to me talk. There's much visiting to be done. But there are some thanks that need to be said. First, to the citizens of Lexington, thanks so much for the opportunity that you gave me to serve this magnificent city. Second, to my many, many friends, some of whom are here tonight, thanks so much for your friendship and support over the years. It means more than I can express to you. It really does. And while it is one image on the canvas, if this portrait were to truly reflect my tenure as mayor, there would be thousands of images on the portrait. There would be the images of thousands of LFUCG career employees who made things work and still make things work for the benefit of the citizens of Lexington. I'd have to say thanks to Joe Kelly and the commissioners who led the departments magnificently. There has never been a better group of commissioners for this city. I will assure you of that. And thanks to Shay Raybold and to all the folks who served on the staff in the mayor's office for the phenomenal support you provided me every day I served as mayor. But there are three more names that I must mention. And I can't say thanks enough to Cheryl Ann and Drew and Will for your great support. Thank you. Love you all. In many ways, we really had the best of times despite the worst of times. Barbara Streisand had a song many years ago that wasn't written for an occasion quite like this, but it was written about a time of reflection. And I wanted to share some of those words with you with some minor modifications, especially for those of you with whom I served in the mayor's office during our time here. Memories may be beautiful, and yet what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. So it's the laughter you should remember. Whenever you remember the way things were. So let's enjoy the memories and share some laughter as we remember some great times during a remarkable period in Lexington's history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for those really extraordinary and wonderful remarks.